Welcome to this explainer. Let's jump right into Chapter 1, Understanding the Uniform UMPJE. Think about it for a second. Every single day, thousands of times a day, pharmacists make decisions where the stakes literally couldn't be higher. One small oversight, one missed interaction, can mean the difference between healing and tragedy. That is exactly why the 2026 Universal UMPJE is stepping in as the new universal blueprint. Historically, navigating different state laws was just a fragmented headache for the profession, with rules varying wildly as soon as you cross state lines. But now, this uniform approach ensures every single pharmacist is legally and practically prepared for this immense responsibility, standardizing the core laws that govern practice across the board. Take a look at this quote. For dispensing functions, pharmacists are held to a near-perfection standard. I think this brilliantly illustrates why pharmacy law can feel a bit like walking a high-stakes tightrope. A single dispensing error, the wrong drug, the wrong strength, or even the wrong directions can be fatal. The courts universally view any dispensing error as an automatic breach of a pharmacist's duty. The margin for error isn't just small, it's virtually non-existent. And that's why mastering these regulations isn't just about passing some test, it's about protecting lives every single day. So, to really grasp how the law protects patients, we're going to break this explainer down into 4 foundational domains. We'll look at pharmacy and pharmacist practice, the medication use process, regulatory authority and legal obligations, and finally, pharmacy operations. All right, first up, Domain 1, pharmacy and pharmacist practice. Basically, the who of it all. The law has to very specifically define the exclusive scope of what a pharmacist actually does, and who is legally allowed to help them in the pharmacy. The absolute crucial point here is that any task requiring specialized clinical judgment is strictly reserved for you, the licensed pharmacist. You absolutely cannot delegate clinical judgment. So, what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, if a computer system flags a severe drug interaction, only a pharmacist can conduct that clinical drug utilization review to decide if it's safe to override. Only a pharmacist can interpret a complex medication record, counsel a worried patient, supervise technicians, and crucially, perform the final check of a prescription before it goes out the door. Now, when we contrast the pharmacist's role with those helping them, some very clear legal lines are drawn. Pharmacy interns, who are usually pharmacy students, can actually perform most pharmacist tasks, including patient counseling, as long as they are directly supervised by a pharmacist. The one major thing they generally cannot do is make that final verification check. On the flip side, pharmacy technicians are heavily restricted to non-clinical tasks. They can handle data entry, count tablets, and package medications, but they absolutely cannot exercise clinical judgment, and there is strictly no patient counseling allowed. It's a system perfectly designed to maximize efficiency while keeping that clinical firewall completely intact. Moving right along to Domain 2, the medication use process. Prescribing, transcribing, dispensing, administering, and monitoring. The how. This domain traces the strict legal journey of a prescription from the doctor's pen straight to the patient's hands. And a massive part of this journey rests on something called corresponding responsibility. This is the legal burden ensuring a prescription is issued for a legitimate medical purpose in the usual scope of professional practice. Basically, it is not enough that a piece of paper has a doctor's signature scribbled on it. Let's say a patient brings in an unusually large prescription for highly addictive opioids, and it was written by a dentist. The pharmacist has a legal, absolute duty to verify its legitimacy before handing over those pills. If it doesn't make medical sense, dispensing it makes the pharmacist just as legally liable as the rogue prescriber. Now, part of the dispensing process involves repackaging drugs, which is heavily regulated by the FDA and USP. Drugs naturally degrade a lot faster when they're removed from their original manufacturer packaging and exposed to light and air. Because of this, when a pharmacy prepackages a drug into a unit dose container, say for use in a busy hospital wing, the strict general rule for expiration is a maximum beyond use date, or BUD, of 6 months, or 25% of the remaining manufacturer's expiration time, whichever comes first. This is absolutely crucial to ensure the chemical integrity of the medicine is never compromised. But wait, the rules get even tighter when we look at customized patient medication packages, or CPMPs. Think of those handy blister packs that combine multiple different drugs into specific time slots just to help a patient remember to take their daily medications. Because you are mixing different chemicals into a single little pocket, you're creating a totally new microenvironment for those drugs, so the regulations adapt. The maximum BUD for a CPMP is strictly limited to just 60 days to prevent any unforeseen degradation. And we absolutely cannot talk about the medication process without bringing up OBRA 90. This landmark federal law was a real game changer. It fundamentally shifted pharmacy from just counting pills to actual hands-on patient care. It established a true national standard by mandating 3 crucial things. First, prospective drug utilization review, meaning pharmacists must actively screen for therapeutic duplication or interactions before dispensing. Second, maintaining comprehensive patient medication records. And third, making a mandatory offer to counsel patients on significant matters regarding their therapy. That simple offer to counsel is arguably one of the most powerful tools in healthcare today, drastically reducing adverse events and hospitalizations just by ensuring the patient actually understands how to take what they've been prescribed.
Okay, let's shift gears to Domain 3, regulatory authority and legal obligations. The enforcers.
This pillar explores the enforcers of pharmacy law and the looming threat of civil liability. First up in understanding the enforcers are the state boards of pharmacy. And here's the thing you really need to remember. The state board is not an advocate for the pharmacist. They are strictly the guardians of public health. To protect the public, they issue licenses, adopt administrative rules, and conduct unannounced inspections. And yes, those inspections can and absolutely will happen right in the middle of a chaotic, busy Tuesday afternoon. When rules are broken, they enforce severe disciplinary actions, ranging from fines and probation all the way to total license suspensions or revocations.
But, the board isn't the only enforcer out there. There's also the civil court system. If a patient files a malpractice lawsuit against a pharmacist, they can't just walk in and claim they were wronged. They actually have to prove 4 essential elements step by step in order to win. Step 1, a duty owed, which is established the exact second that pharmacist-patient relationship begins. Step 2, a breach of that duty, like making a dispensing error. Step 3, causation, proving the breach actually and proximately caused the harm. And step 4, damages, meaning there must be actual, quantifiable, physical harm or solid grounds for punitive damages. It is a very rigorous standard. And this right here is where the pharmacist's legal defense kicks in. If a patient cannot prove just one of those 4 steps, for example, let's say a dispensing error occurred, but the patient noticed it before taking the pill, meaning there were absolutely 0 physical damages, the whole case collapses entirely. The defense can file for and win a summary judgment. You literally must have all 4 elements present and proven to have a valid malpractice claim. This legal standard is absolutely crucial because it protects pharmacists from frivolous lawsuits where no actual harm occurred.
Finally, we arrive at Domain 4, pharmacy operations. This is all about the where. This final domain examines the strict legal requirements for the physical pharmacy environment itself, along with automation and shared services. To safely handle the massive workloads we see today, the industry relies a ton on shared services models. Let's compare the 2 primary ones. Central fill is exactly what it sounds like. A secondary, massive facility physically prepares and labels the prescriptions, then sends the actual filled drugs back to the originating pharmacy for patient pickup. Centralized processing, on the other hand, only handles cognitive data tasks, things like data entry, DUR, and order verification. In centralized processing, there are no actual drugs on site at all, just pharmacists and technicians at computers ensuring the clinical data is absolutely flawless. Now, for physical pharmacies that hold inventory, the storage rules are no joke. Honestly, the FDA regulates the pharmacy thermostat way more aggressively than anyone regulates their home AC. If a drug requires freezing, it must be kept strictly between -25 and -10 degrees Celsius. Items requiring a refrigerator must be tightly kept between 2 and 8 degrees Celsius, and controlled room temp is strictly 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. Think about it. If a fridge malfunctions overnight and drops outside that 2 to 8 degree window, thousands of dollars of life-saving biologics might have to be completely destroyed. That is exactly why temperature logs and automated alerts are legally mandated. Well, we've covered some serious ground today across these 4 domains. What you should really take away from all this is that these laws aren't just annoying bureaucratic red tape. They are the essential shield protecting public health. But it does leave us with a pretty fascinating question to ponder. As automation takes over more of the dispensing process and pharmacist clinical authorities continue to expand, how is that legal near-perfection standard going to adapt to the pharmacist of tomorrow? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep asking those big questions, and I'll catch you next time.